for the welcome on your people's territory. First off, I'd like to share a song with you people here because it's one of my people's song, and the words, the reason why I like singing it because the words say, take me back, and my heart will be good. And I believe Mother Earth is telling us to take her back, and her heart will be good. Desergio Ando sikazukali Desergio Ando sikazukali So I'm one of the very fortunate Wet'suwet'en people that comes from the Wet'suwet'en Nation that came from a very cultural family. My great-grandma lived to be 113 years old and outlived all her children and ended up rearing her grandchildren, which my mom was her granddaughter. So they all got taught their territory, got taught how to survive off the land, and were a part of our governance structure, which is our feasting system. And they're the hereditary chiefs of my clan and had appointed me to be their speaker. And I really believe they chose me because I knew how to be assertive, but I knew how to be peaceful and knew how to get my point across without attacking people. I always used facts, always used my people's wisdom to share my reasons why we oppose something. We don't use aggression, and we do a lot of things through prayer. And we've been doing this for, we say 7 years. I've been occupying my territory, but we've always utilized our territory. And my generation had known for years and years and years, every time we went out to our territory to go fishing out char at one of the lakes or go hunting, we keep looking at each other and says, what happened? It's different here. It's getting destroyed. And we kept telling our chiefs, we need to do something before there's nothing left. And they said, what are our children going to have? What are our children going to use? There's going to be nothing left for them. And so when we got word that these projects were proposed for one of the pristine territories that is untouched, from 3 pipeline companies that want to put a pipeline through for bitumen. There's an Enbridge pipeline, and there's a Coastal GasLink for frack gas, and Pacific Trails for frack gas. And originally we started out because there was a mining company that was trying to go in one of our territories where we do our char fishing. And it just so happened that every spring we go in by snowmobile to check up on our cabin, and one spring I was going in to check up on that cabin, and we were planning to drive, and then usually we'd have to park 7 kilometers from the cabin and pull a snowmobile off and snowmobile in. But that one spring we went in to go check on the cabin, and for some strange reason the road was plowed, and I said, oh, what the heck, what's going on here? Why is the road plowed? And then my partner spoke with him. He used to be Tuggusty. He was riding with me, and he just said, it's probably mining. He just kept saying it the whole way while we were going, it's probably mining. So when he finally arrived at the cabin, and there was just a single road there, so I parked my truck right on the road, and then walked into the cabin. I said, whoever's in here is going to have to honk their horn and come back out. Because we got there so late, so sure enough, early in the morning, there was a horn honking up on the road, so I went up to go check it out and asked them what they were doing in there, and they said they were an exploration company and they were setting up camp to start work back there. So I just asked him for his business card, and I said, well, you need to go back and tell whoever's employed you that you don't have our consent and you don't have any business being here. So he just said, I'm just a worker, I will pass on the message. And then I moved my truck and let him leave, but he said, there's people already back here who've been setting up for 2 weeks. I said, okay, I'll go see them. So I let him go, and I went to go see the camp that they had set up and said the same thing to them, asked them, who are you, what are you doing here? You don't have permission for my people to be here. So after I told them that, then I looked around at all their camp, and then finally I looked around, and then I went back to them and said, you got till Friday, 12 noon, to take all this down, because according to my clan's laws, you don't have my permission to have this up. We will own all of this if you don't have it out of here. So I was planning to spend the whole weekend there, and we didn't end up not staying because I had no way to phone my chief, so we just packed up our stuff and I drove right back out to report to my chiefs what we came upon, and they said, we're going back out there tomorrow. So we went right back out the very next day, and so my chiefs, we went in and then we walked around, and then they like to joke around and make light of things, so my chiefs said, I like this one. I think this is one's going to be mine if we don't take it out here. And they were just saying that to those workers that were there, and then they just reinforced what I had said. By 12 noon, if you don't have all of this out of here, it belongs to us. So they had like wall tents up that had washers and dryers, and more wall tents that had bunks in it. Yeah, all this fancy gear that they were going to use to do their work. And so we ended up, I had to go back to work because at that time I was still working. So I went back to my job, and we'd asked a few of our young men to stay back, and they ended up blocking. We ended up falling a bunch of trees on the 2 ways into our cabin, and then they stayed at the end of the road with a fire and waited for them to haul their stuff out. And we showed up that Friday morning before 12 noon to see if they were going to take their stuff out, and sure enough, 5 to 12, they were hauling out all their gear. So at that point, we hadn't been able to see what's happening with that, but I think the company at that time sold their company, the mineral rights to another company because they didn't want to battle with us, so they ended up selling it, and I haven't heard anything from the other company yet. And since then, we've got word of the pipelines proposed for our other territory where there's a one and only river. You can still go walk up to the river with a cup and you can drink that water. That's how clean it is, and it's clean year round. And that's where we actually ended up building the cabin that I'm now living in and getting water from that river. So I've been living there for almost 6 years now. It's been built in 2010, I believe we built it. And we strategically built it right in the GPS route of Enbridge and Pacific Trails, and they have since moved their route, but not knowing their new route is still on my people's territory. They're still saying they can't come in. So we've been living there, and the one thing we've identified that is a lot of our people are living in oppression and struggling, and we're saying that our family, we received healing from all the traumas we've been through. That's why we're able to stand and do what we're doing, and we had a culture which makes us strong. And we have this long-term vision that we want to build a healing center that would cover cultural, spiritual, mental, like every component to, especially for our youth, because there's so much youth committing suicides, and we always say the youth are our future, so we wanted to build a healing center and focus on our youth. And my niece is graduating with her PhD in clinical psychology, and that was her long-term vision. So at one of our camps when we were sitting around the fire and we were talking about our long-term vision, the people from Galiano Island that helped us build the bunkhouse said, hey, we can help you build that. And then, lo and behold, they started doing a fundraising campaign, and for the first phase they raised $50,000, and through all donated labor we're able to put up that structure because we had people from all over the world come up and help, whether they were experienced or unexperienced and just wanted to come and learn some skills. So we had carpenters and we had plumbers and all kinds of people show up and put up the building. Within 3 weeks we had the whole thing up. So we did that in the first phase, then last year we did the second phase where it's got the bottom floor has administration office, and then it's got I can't remember what name they gave it, but it's got the room that's going to house the heating system that's going to work by wood stove, and then we have pipes in the floor that's going to heat through the wood, and it's all solar powered. And so we added that, and then the counseling offices were on the second floor, and then a workshop room on the third floor. So that was done last year, and then this year, actually next week, we're starting a third construction camp for phase 3, which we're building the sleeping quarters for the clients that are going to come through. And we're going to utilize a lot of my family members have counseling backgrounds. A lot of my family members are very knowledgeable with our culture and our traditions. So we say the federal government and the province did everything in their power to take the Indian out of the child, and we're going to do everything in our power to put the Indian back in our children. Decolonize our people, they're going to want to protect the land, they're going to want to protect the water, because once they learn that is what our critical infrastructure is, that is what our valuable resource is, that we need to protect that, because every human being on this planet has, I can't remember what percentage, I didn't pay attention in science, what percentage of our body has water. So every human being needs water to survive. And I don't think you can last very long if you had no water. And to me, I truly believe that industry and government has already commodified water. Everybody drinks bottled water. And their goal is to eventually put meters on every home and make us pay for that water. That's right. We have a right to that water. And they want to commodify it because water is more valuable than oil and gas. If you look at how much you pay a liter. And they've already, I think they passed a water law that just this past year. That they're making the oil and gas industries exempt from that water law, but they're going to make the agriculturists pay so much per gallons that they use. So you can guarantee that if they're going to do that, you're going to see the prices of our food probably double, triple, so that people can't even afford. And even the people that grow all the produce are going to have to pay a fee for using the water that they used to get for free. And then they're going to have to, you're already seeing it now, vegetables have tripled in price. And that's because of the Water Act that was passed. So I've just been saying everything that I've said was going to happen is already happening. And there's a whole crew of us who are talking about these pipelines, and all these different projects are going to try and weasel their way through our people's territory, and they are doing it now. And it's exactly like what Madonna said, it's all through Indigenous people's territory. And if you look at I explain to people, when you go through our 22,000 square kilometers of Wet'suwet'en territory, when you drive from one end to the other, between two mountain range, it's all agricultural lands. And we've never given up those lands, but they've basically created the RCMP to push us off our lands onto reservations so they could have all the prime land. And that's basically what they've done, and what they're doing now is they're putting cattle on our untouched land, saying that they're using all the land that they already stole from us to grow hay and whatever it is to feed the millions of cattle to feed the rest of the world. So they're putting them out on our territories now and putting cattle guards in and impacting our hunting because our moose can't go in there anymore. No matter how much we try to oppose and fight these things, the province just ignores us and they put the cows in. I said, well, I guess we're going to go hunting and start putting meat away in our freezers because your cows are trespassing now. So we've been doing that for quite a while and been trying to teach our younger generation to get back to our culture, and probably around the same amount of time we formed a drum group where we're teaching young people our dances and our songs, and the way we revitalized it, there was a few of them that learned from an elder, and then we brought an elder into our dance groups and we started singing the songs, and then she started remembering and she said, oh yeah, this is how they danced to that song, this is what they did. And then she said, oh, you're missing this line in that song. And she'd give us the words, and eventually, so we named our drum group En Hayazli, which means it's coming to life. So we're doing that as well to revitalize our songs, and our drum group now travels. It used to be just 3 of us used to be sitting around by the riverside there singing songs, and I said, you know what, we got to keep it consistent. Even if the 3 of us look like nobody's coming, they're going to come. So now the group's now 20 to 30 people, and there's little ones in there. And even though I moved to the territory, we gave it over to other people to keep it going, and it's still going, and I'm so proud of that. So culture is strength, and even our action camp, we've been having it for the 9th, I think, this year, annual, and we run it for 5 days, and the main purpose of that camp is to decolonize people. So you come to our pristine territory, you're drinking our pure water, and you're eating healthy, and you're in an environment that's accepting no matter what race you are, no matter what gender you choose to be, or any of that. We don't judge people from where they're coming from. And through the times we've had our camps, we've had a lot of people say they've received healing. It's not even our own people that come in. They said they've received healing because they're drinking living water and they're in an accepting environment. That some people said they were having mental issues and wanted to commit suicide, but after staying in our camp for a brief period, they said those thoughts were gone. That they said the land is healing. You wake up and you hear birds singing. You wake up, you hear the river flowing. If you have aches in your body, you go dip in the river, and then when you come back, the pain is gone. So the land is healing, and if you look around and wonder why all our planet is sick, for the last 4 years, I made a choice to stop eating cruelty meat, I call it. All the meat that's produced through the commercial process is done cruelly. And I only eat my own meats because I know our hunters take it with ceremony. We do prayers, and we do not chase the animal down and put it in duress. The animal has to offer itself and stand there for you before you take it. So that is how we do our meats, and ever since I've done that, I've been way healthier. I used to be 160 pounds now, and I think I'm down to 140, I think. I'm not like dieting and saying that I'm losing this weight. And I used to wear prescription eyeglasses, and I don't wear them anymore. I see perfectly fine. And when I went to the optometrist, he says, I've never seen this in all the history. And he said, I'm old. I've been doing this a long time, and I've never ever seen this. You don't need glasses anymore. Your eyes are perfectly fine. Wow. He said, you sure you didn't have diabetes in your family? I said, no. So I have a feeling it was the computer. My job was, every day I was at a computer from morning till night, and I'm less on the computer, and my eyes are back perfect, and I'm way healthier, and I used to suffer with severe allergies. I had to pack an EpiPen around, and that's minimized too from me living back on the land, and I'm way healthier. And I used to have severe arthritis, change in diet, I could bend my knees again. But I couldn't, on this leg I couldn't bend. I would walk down the stairs like this. And from change of diet and eating traditional food, I can do a 7-kilometer hike through the bush, crawl over bedrock, windfalls, and not get winded. So I'm in really good shape for somebody that's 52 years old. So I look forward to it. And just recently we started another group called trying to remember the name, I just finished telling people about it. Sacred Fire Network. And the reason why we called it that, a lot of our Indigenous people still have a spark, even though it's been diminished, and are unable to stand up. So we're making connections with all the other Indigenous people that are struggling. And it's not just Indigenous people that are in this Sacred Fire Network, it's the supporters that help us financially, help us physically by coming out and lending a hand, building structures. And so we started that network, and they formed various different groups. And the reason why we did that, we found that we've been doing this for so long that we've acquired a whole bunch of people that are supporting us, whether it be media, fundraising. We have all these support systems in place, and we're finding the other friends were not doing the work to acquire the same things that we did. They were coming just to try and pick off of what we've already created. So we said, why don't we start this network and get the people that are helping us to train more people so that more people could be helping these other fronts. So that's what we started to do, because a lot of people, they keep sending me emails and messages on Facebook. I told them, I don't talk over Facebook. I have to talk to you face to face. I don't answer questions through social media or email. If you want to talk to me, you have to come and see me in person. And so we've been invited out to a lot of different areas to share with them how we got to where we are, and we are happy to help other people. We've helped 2 other camps put up permanent structures, because my dad always told me, your strongest ammo against the rest of the world that's trying to steal more of your land, he said, occupy. He said, how do you think when the municipalities came into being? They came in, they moved right in, and they occupied, and now they're still here. He said, our people need to occupy your traditional territory. You can't just go visit on a weekend and go home, go visit. So that word stuck with me, and my dad passed away a year ago, and I am glad before he passed that I made a decision to walk away from my job. I got educated, I worked in a job for 14 years, paid off 5 vehicles, paid off a home, and I still was not happy. Something was missing, and when I started going back to my people's traditional territory, I felt like a spark was relit and came back alive in me.
Right on.
I always wanted to be out on the land, and whenever I spent too much time away, I could feel myself going back down. Go back, sing our traditional songs, gets me back up here again.
Go back to nature.
So that's why they say the land is healing. People need to get back to the lands, get back to your culture. And the thing that I said really helped us is prayer. When, I think it was 2 years ago now, the police tried to force their way in, and they were listening to industry's propaganda and lies about us. They were saying that we had M16s and that we were threatening them, and they were saying that we were slashing their tires. Like, the workers were saying all these lies to get the police to come and try and remove us. But I told them that's why we have cameras. We took footage of everything, every encounter, they had cameras. So when the police tried to meet with us saying that we were threatening their workers, so I whipped out my USB, popped it in, and said, have a look. Who's being the aggressors here? It's not us. So it ended up being the industry workers were the ones that were being aggressors, or we got it all on camera to prove to them that it wasn't us. So I always tell people, media is your best weapon. Always have a camera whenever you're communicating with the industry or even when they had the meeting, we brought the camera in and they tried to say we're not allowed. I said, no, this is our protection. It's always our word against yours, and if we have this, this is our protection to ensure that you're not going to say we said this or we said that. So we've always made sure we have a camera, and we've been successful in kicking out the choppers. As soon as the chopper flies over, we jump in our vehicle and chase them down and tell them the protocol that you don't have our consent and you're trespassing, you have to leave. So, and we ended up having to use a lawyer it cost us quite a bit, but we felt that was the only avenue to get the police to stand down, because they were threatening there was at least 200 police surrounding the community where we were at. They were filling up all the motels because we had settler folks telling us the police are training up at this lake, they're training, snowmobile training up on this mountain. And they said they saw way more police traffic in Smithers, Houston, all the motels were booked up. And one of the people that were doing media for us was actually from the States, and she didn't have dual citizenship, so she didn't want to get arrested, so she was being the person that we would send the footage to, and she would edit it in a motel when everything was heated. And then one of the persons that we sent out that was visiting for the day, we sent the footage out with her, and she went to go give it to the lady in the motel in Smithers. And when she was walking in to go to her room to give it to her, she said there were some doors left open, and when she said, I don't know why, but I just looked, and she said there was like over 30 rifles laying all over the floor. And she said, oh, I'm not supposed to see that, so she gave the external drive to the person, and she left right away, and she came back right away. She wasn't planning to come back, but she came back to tell us what she saw. So we knew they were planning a raid, even though as much as they denied, when we confronted them about it, they still deny it to this day. We knew that just from seeing the high numbers of police, and they keep trying to instigate. The police did try to come in and tried to forcefully walk across the bridge. Even though they were told not to come in, they were still trying to come in, and that's, I don't know how many of you saw the video footage where I went to the bridge with my cup of tea and just told them they had to leave. And the strange thing was that my auntie told me that we needed to pray. She told me, go pray at that bridge. So I said, okay, and I just grabbed my stuff that we use for praying, and I went, and we used prayer oils. And my mom taught me about making a protective line, and I used rice because I figured that's the only thing I had that was readily available. So I put our prayer oils in the rice, and I did the prayers, and I made a line all the way across the road for the one-way in. And another elder that was praying, she said, when I went to go pray at that bridge, she said, when I looked that way, I saw your ancestors from far as my eye could see. Then I looked that way and I saw your ancestors as far as my eye could see. She said, you're not alone here. So that was really encouraging. And so after we did that prayer, the next day the police came in, and I was just calm. Some people were trying to get all riled up, and they fired off the alarm, so it got everybody in a panic, and they were telling everybody to run to the bridge. And I saw everybody running, and I said, what's going on here? You get back! Everybody went back I said, get back by the fire. You weren't asked to leave. So I walked back, and then I told them to shut off the alarm, and sent the girl off that put the alarm off. I said, you get back to the camp, I'm going to deal with you when I come back. So when I went there, I talked to the police and said, do you have a warrant? Are you trying to arrest somebody in here? And he says, no. And I said, well, you can't come in. I said, this bridge, this is my door. I said, unless you have a warrant that somebody has committed a crime, you can't come in here. So I told him just to turn around and go back. And they did. They ended up just turning around and leaving. So I'm just thankful for prayer, because if it wasn't for prayer, I wouldn't be calm as I have been. And I come from a family that's strong with their praying, and always says you do everything in prayer. And my dad's the one that always taught me, no matter how much your blood is boiling, when somebody's saying to you or attacking you, remain calm. He says, they're way up here and you'll remain calm, but if you go up here, your voice is going to go higher and higher and higher. So he says, just remain calm, and if you keep staying here, but make sure you're assertive, that they're not pushing you around, then they're going to come back down here. So I've been taught that by my dad, and I've learned over the years that that's how I carry myself, and I truthfully believe that's why my chiefs appointed me to be the spokesperson, because I've always been a peacekeeper that remained peaceful, and whenever there was family disputes, I was the one that got people to make amends and get them to talk it through and come back together. So that's what we've been doing, and I'm still living in a cabin and have numerous visitors year-round. So I'm always doing orientation with new people, orientation, it gets exhausting, and then sometimes I just stay in my room until I don't want nobody to bother me, and people tell me that go away. I put somebody else in charge and tell them, you're in charge. People are going to come to you and ask questions. I said, I'm having a break. I said, I'm having a mental breakdown. So yeah, so that's what my people have been doing, and we're still standing firm and not going to back down.